if Jesus were alive today and in the United States, this administration would have already taken him and removed him from this country without due process, claimed he was a member of the MS-13 gang as a way to try to justify not giving him due process, as if there is any justifiable reason to not giving somebody due process. But yeah, some people don't want to talk about that. It truly is baffling how clear and laid out everything is, and there is still people standing by it. I believe in the good of people and like humanity, humans, deep down at our core, like we care about each other. But that's really being tested, because how anyone is okay with this is terrifying to me. But yeah, if you look like me, speak up, speak out, because we might be the only ones safe from what's coming and some of the only people that are able to stop it. So yeah, it's our duty at this point.
So we got to continue our coverage of the Democrat Party and how they become a complete and total embarrassment to this country. Okay, it was hard for me to imagine the Democrat Party humiliating themselves more so than they already have over the past 3 to 4 months. But boy, they just continue to dig themselves in a deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper hole, mainly because of their Trump derangement. Okay, their Trump derangement causes them to take sides in an issue that they probably should not take, right? It causes them to stand against the American people no matter what, right? Even though it is a situation where it's like, hey, Democrats, maybe you should just sit this one out. Maybe boo-hoo whining and crying about an illegal immigrant, alleged gang member, white beating human trafficker being deported to El Salvador. Maybe crying about that guy and going across the globe, right? Flying across the globe to rescue him from a maximum security prison. Maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe that's not what you want to be showing the American people, that this is what you care about. But no, Democrat senators like Chris Van Hollen, he went all the way over to El Salvador to see an illegal immigrant and to try to bring him back, okay? But he came back empty-handed, and then you have Democrats like, for example, ghetto Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett going on MSNBC and boohoo whining and crying while discussing the fact that this illegal immigrant gang member is locked up in El Salvador, and Nayib Bukele and President Trump basically refused to bring him back. Take a look.
Nayib Bukele saying he's going to remain in the custody of El Salvador. We need to see more action, though, from people kind of emulating what we saw from Senator Van Hollen, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So first of all, kudos to Senator Van Hollen. And honestly, that's what it looks like to be an elected representative. He represents Maryland. This is someone who is a Maryland resident, and he decided that he was going to go down there and check on him. And honestly, I don't know that I was convinced that he was alive. I really don't. So listen, I don't want to hear anything from the Republican Party about how they're trying to keep us safe when their fearless leader is actually the biggest criminal thus far that we have seen, because I haven't seen anybody with a rap sheet that looks like the president's.
So I want to exercise a point of personal privilege right now. I'm going to play a really quick clip for you, Congresswoman, and ask you a question on the other side. Take a watch and listen. My next guest joining me now is Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett. Representative, so happy to have you here. I know you had a busy day yesterday. Well, Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett, thank you for being here, and thanks for all of your advocacy. We appreciate it. Okay, that was you and I 3 years ago. That was your first time on the Katie Fang Show. This is the second to the last episode of the show. Congresswoman, I wanted to thank you for always getting up and early and delivering it, but I also want to say thank you for your continuing support for democracy. It's definitely something that you have made your brand, and it's the integrity that you're bringing, and I'm grateful for you always.
We'll miss you.
Oh. You can't have me crying at the beginning of a show, Jasmine. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, you haven't seen the last of me. Thank you for being here and getting us started today. I always appreciate you.
Yeah, so as you can see, the propaganda for the Democrats is getting into cringe levels. The crowd on national television now was Jasmine Crockett crying about Katie Fang losing her show, or was she crying about the illegal immigrant? Hey, I don't really know. I'm just saying they cried on national television, and she was literally just talking about how the illegal immigrant needs to come back. So just not a good look, right? Just probably not a good look to be cried on national television when, discussing a topic like that. But regardless, Democrats are, again, they're hell bent on doubling and tripling down on this as their propaganda falls apart. Okay, the propaganda is falling apart. And one of the core pieces of propaganda that is falling apart beautifully, okay, is this idea that the illegal immigrant is not a gang member, right? The liberal media says he's not a gang member. There's no evidence whatsoever he's a gang member. Now, remember, these are the same people who claimed that Pete Hegseth and his tattoos are evidence and proof that he is a white nationalist, right? That is what the media, okay, that's what the media said, okay, and the Democrat Party, okay? We all remember this. They were saying that Pete Hegseth, because of his tattoos, is a white nationalist, even though his tattoos are Christian tattoos, right? But for whatever reason, when you have an illegal immigrant who has tattoos that obviously are gang affiliated, oh, well, that's not proof and evidence, right? That's not evidence that he's a gang member. You guys see how this stuff work, okay? But President Trump posted a picture of these tattoos that the illegal immigrant has on his hands. And the mainstream liberal media is now saying, well, who cares, right? Who cares if he's a gang member? That's not what this is really about.
One thing that we've heard from the legal team and against this allegation from the White House is about his history. I know that you've said he doesn't have a criminal history, that he had never been arrested for anything before. People at the White House have pointed out to me, they say that doesn't mean that he wasn't a member of MS-13. There's not always criminal activity on someone's record if they are in a gang. And I want to show you something that the president posted tonight. It's a photo of what he says is your client's left hand. You can see his knuckles there, and the president is showing these tattoos that the White House alleges reveals that he's a member of MS-13. I should note, the photo has been doctored because the actual MS-13 that you see at the top, that's not actually a tattoo. That's what they're saying the tattoos portray. What is your reaction to this photo?
Yeah. My reaction is this is just a continuation of the distraction. This case is not about whether Mr. Abrego Garcia is good or bad, whether he is or isn't in MS-13, whether he should be able to remain for the rest of his life in the U.S. or not. This case is about the simple fact that he was removed without due process, and if it can happen to him and the government pushes back at every turn, despite 3 different courts ordering them to return him, then who's next?
I am loving this timeline. I really am. Every single time the propaganda falls apart. And you know the most hilarious part about this? Kaylin Collins. Again, this is how you know the liberal media is straight propaganda, right? It's just straight propaganda. They say, well, the photo that President Trump posted is doctored. But it, clearly, yes, there is Photoshop being used to explain to people what they're looking at, right? So people understand what the symbols mean, okay? So yes, the photo is Photoshopped, but that doesn't mean that the tattoos aren't real, okay? But again, that's what the media tries to do, right? They try to play these tricks with their audience where they say things in order to discredit the president when the president is 100% right, right? Like, these are the tattoos, okay? The president was explaining what the tattoos mean. Those tattoos are there. I mean, the dude clearly is a gang member, right? He's a part of MS-13. It is what it is, okay? So, again, now that they have to acknowledge that this is in fact real, again, they say, well, again, who cares? Doesn't matter if he's good or bad, right? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if we allow bad illegal immigrants to stay in this country, right? Doesn't matter if they are participating in gang activities, okay? Doesn't matter. It's about their constitutional rights. It's about their due process. And these idiots really believe that that is going to work. That is going to work with the American people, okay? It's just not going to work, okay? And poll after poll has shown that the American people side with President Trump when it comes to this issue of illegal immigration and mass deportations.
Interesting. What about the White House policy of deporting immigrants that are here illegally?
Yeah, okay, so let's dive a little bit more into the specifics, right? So this is a great question. Deport all undocumented immigrants. That is voters favoring a government effort to deport all 11 million. Look at where we are now in 2025. 56%, the majority of voters agree with this policy, support it, just 43% opposed. That is a massive rise from where we were in 2016 when, of course, Donald Trump was running for the Republican nomination the first time around when it was just 38%. The American public is much more so on Donald Trump's side now than back when he was running the first time around. Now, of course, this is the public at large, right? Let's dive a little bit more into the crosstabs, and this should give you a very interesting look at where the public is, all right? Deport more immigrants here illegally. Well, not much of a surprise, Jake. 90% of Republicans agree with that. But look in the middle of the electorate. Look here. We get 61% of independents agreeing with it, the clear majority. And how about among Democrats? Even there, you get about a third of Democrats agreeing with the idea that we should deport more immigrants who are here illegally. So, yes, there is some specific issue polling which might not necessarily look great for Donald Trump, but when you look specifically at immigration, and you dive into the crosstabs, and you look at Democrats, independents, and Republicans, it's not much of a surprise that at this particular point in time, it is slight, but still the plurality of Americans give Donald Trump the thumbs up on immigration, which is very much unlike what we see with his policies at large and certainly on the economy, Jay.
And look at that number with independents, because that's really important. That's how you win an election. Is
you got that
right. The support
you got
of
it, my
independents.
friend.
All right.
You got it.
And this is why you have the mainstream liberal media outlets like MSNBC. They're now in desperation mode, right? Because now this is what they're saying. They're saying, okay, you need to worry about the illegal immigrant. You need to worry about him because he's going to come for black people, right? If he can deport illegal immigrants to El Salvador, then he can also deport black people and others from the country. That's what they're saying. Take a look.
Congressman Ivey, thank you for being here. There is, I've been talking about this all week, but Janae Nelson of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, she penned an op-ed in The Nation this week. And her op-ed talked about that we think that democracies the way they die is dramatically through these wars and blood is shed, and it's cinematic in a sense. But really, the realistic way in which democracies die is that it's dismantled brick by brick, piece by piece. And she says that what we are seeing now with the lawlessness from this administration are really the canaries in the coal mine gasping for air. I'm paraphrasing here. But to me, that is why Kilmar Abrego Garcia's specific case, the case of the gentleman who's a makeup artist out of California who was also sent to that prison, that is why the 75% of the folks who have been sent, the men who have been sent there that don't have criminal records, that is why this is so important. Because if they could do it to them, if they could snatch students off the street without any pushback or recourse, they will do it to any of us. And to be very clear, it's going to be the people of color and vulnerable communities that are next in line.
I think that's right, and that's certainly part of why the African-American community is so strongly behind the supporting Kilmar.
Yeah, we're like, we are not for this.
Yeah, because as you just said, if they're going to whisk them away, what are they going to do with us?
Really? Black folks. Do y'all ever get tired of Democrats and liberals trying to compare the plight of black people to other communities, right? First, they were saying that black people and trans people are basically the same, right? They use black people to push the trans agenda. And now they're using black people to push the illegal immigrant agenda. Does it ever stop? Does the disrespect ever stop? And will black folks finally say enough is enough of these Democrats using us to push the agenda on behalf of other people? Just saying, right? Just saying, okay? One day people will figure out the game that these Democrats play. So again, this is bad optics for Democrats, right? Really bad optics. This is why you have the liberal media. They're now confronting Democrats and they're telling Democrats, hey, low key, this just don't make y'all look good, right? It really don't. Even Nayib Bukele, that whole imagery of, drinking margaritas and stuff like that, he played y'all, right? He played you.
On the political side, this Democrat senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, posts this picture of him meeting with the guy at like a restaurant. This is a bad look, man. If you want to make this guy the hill to die on for Democrats, like he is the picture of America's freedom stolen, You had to know that this was going to not look great, okay? He does not look like he's struggling, this guy. Look at the glassware. El Salvador's president immediately seized on the opportunity. Now, did they yank him out of a prison and bring him here? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Perception's reality, okay? And he made this snarky tweet. So that's the politics of it. I don't understand the Democrats going to these lengths for this particular guy. Why do you want to be seen as though this guy, who may well be an MS-13 gang member, is like the guy you want to die for, going down to this hellhole in El Salvador? Why?
So I believe that this case is incredibly important, not just because of Kilmar Garcia himself, but because of what he represents. The fact that the president of the United States is willing to openly defy a Supreme Court order. And as my colleague acknowledged, it is actually up to, or he did not acknowledge, it is up to our president, Donald Trump, the United States, according to the Supreme Court, to facilitate this. It would take one phone call from Donald Trump, one ask to say, get this guy back here because he should be afforded due process. I'm going to follow by the Supreme Court's order to do that. If we let this moment go by and allow the administration to just outright defy our Constitution, then we are full blown in an authoritarian regime that will go further. They've made it very clear.
You just heard CNN's Harry Enton that voters generally back Trump's immigration policies. Today in the Oval Office, President Trump said illegal immigration was, quote, the biggest reason he won re-election. He might be right about that. Do you think that your party is missing something on this issue?
Thanks for having me, Jake. I'd question that polling because when you tell people the stories, you get very different answers. Ask somebody whether they think an Afghani national who helped the U.S. troops find Osama bin Laden and now feels threatened at home and is here on an asylum case because they can't be sure they'll be safe at home and is under temporary protected status but not here legally yet. Should that person be deported?
And let's talk politically, not legally. If they do show in court that he is a member of MS-13, they actually make that argument in court filings, which, again, they have not done so far. Are you worried this could backfire on your party politically?
It's so funny, Caitlin, how everybody wants to talk about the politics of it. It's so far beyond that. Due process is the essential core element of our constitutional system. If we don't have due process for everybody in the country, all is lost because anybody can be swept off of the street and deported and taken out someplace. And so I hope I still live in a country right now where the vast majority of the people support the Constitution and due process.
But, Congressman, I'll ask you, did Democrats pick the wrong hero?
We don't know because there was no due process. We actually have not seen the evidence go
what happened to believe all
a
women?
Judge. Pardon me?
What happened to believe all women?
Well, I don't know about that. All I know is that he did not have due process. He did not go before a judge. When he did go before a judge, everybody said, keep him here, don't send him back because there are gangs that are, it's a peril to his life. He did have a court order that allowed him to stay here. The Trump administration deported him anyway.
Yeah, and these idiots, right, the Democrats, they're coming out and they're saying, hey, we're going to send more Democrats to El Salvador, right? We're going to ratchet it up, right? We're going to continue to make ourselves look like complete and total idiots. Take a look.
Congresswoman Maxine Dexter here from Oregon's 3rd District. What Trump has done to Kilmar Abrego Garcia is inhumane, cruel, and it's creating a constitutional crisis. Full stop. It is a government-funded kidnapping. Plain and simple. Kilmar, a father of 3, lived in Maryland for over half his adult life. He had legal permission to stay in the United States. Trump mistakenly deported him and is blatantly defying the Supreme Court's order to bring him back. And this isn't just about one man. Trump is targeting international students. He's talking about mass deportations. No one is safe in Trump's America. He is trying to incite fear and is directly assaulting the rule of law. This moment is about whether our government respects the Constitution or steamrolls it. We must speak out. We must stay loud. Our democracy and our humanity depends on it.
Yeah. So I want you guys to understand, right? Democrats are using tax dollars, right? Our tax dollars, okay? And I just said a lot of that money to the government, right? I just gave a lot of it to the government, okay? So I'm just saying that I don't like this, okay? I don't like the fact that Democrats are spending our tax dollars to fly to a foreign country to stage photo ops of them begging and pleading with foreign leaders to bring back people to this country who are not citizens of this country, that are illegal immigrants, right? They're in their own homes, okay? They're in El Salvador. That's his home. He's an El Salvador citizen, okay? He does not belong here. But Democrats feel like he's entitled to be here, okay? And they want to force him back, and they're making this issue the issue that they're going to make their issue. Like, this is the issue for them. This is wild to me. And what's making it even worse is the media, right? Because they're doing the exact same thing that they did under the Biden administration. Again, this is why it's just so funny what's happening right now. All of this is going to backfire big time, right? They're gaslighting people. They're gaslighting people. And this is why the liberal media, they're making it worse for Democrats, because they're just parroting all the Democrat talking points, destroying their own credibility. They try to make us think, oh, no, he's here legally. No, he's not here legally, okay? He's here illegally. It doesn't take much to fact check and know that this guy was born in El Salvador, okay? He was born in El Salvador, and he came into the country illegally. And then they try to say, well, he can't be deported, right? No, he can be deported. It was actually ruled that he can be deported. He was not granted asylum. It was denied. Oh, he's not a gang member. Bro has gang tattoos on his fingers, right? He was arrested with other gang members. You had independent sources verify, yes, he is in fact a gang member. They try to say, oh, well, he's not dangerous. He beat his wife, right? I mean, his wife basically filed a restraining order against him, okay? So again, it's comical at this point, right? Everything they're saying is just not true, okay? And anybody that's paying attention to the actual facts knows that the media, they're just lied about everything. Democrats are just lied about everything. And then they wonder why it doesn't work. Why is it that President Trump still is overwhelmingly popular when it comes to illegal immigration? Because he's doing what the American people want, okay? And the more that the media lies, the more that the Democrats lie, it just makes them look worse. It just makes them look worse. But again, they're so dumb. They're so Trump deranged. They're so cognitively impaired, because that is what Trump derangement does. It causes you to be cognitively impaired. Democrats don't know how to think, right? They just know how to react. Let's just react to everything that Trump does, okay? Because they do that, it puts them in these very awkward situations where they're now defending the indefensible. They look like clowns. And everybody knows it, right? All the normal, sane people know it. Wow, the Democrat Party looks like a clown show right now, defending this guy. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. They lack self-awareness. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.